On today's episode of Locked On Wild, Cole Eiserman, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, and Tij Iginla, come on down. It's time for your 2024 draft profile.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. There is no I in team, but there is one in Indeed, and that's the hiring platform you need to build yours. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we will take a look at Cole Eiserman, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, and Tij Iginla for their draft profiles, get a sense of what the Wild could be getting if they go any of those routes in the draft. All right, let's take a look at Cole Eiserman. Who is Cole Eiserman? He is a left-shooting left wing that is committed to Boston University. He's 6 foot, 196. Played in the U.S. development program. And the numbers are impressive for Cole Eiserman, to say the least. Let me just take you back to his Shattuck days. Played on the 14 under AAA team back in 2020, 2021. In 50 games, he had 97 goals, not 97 points. 97 goals. He had 154 points in 50 games. On the 18 under prep team, he had 56 goals in 53 games. He played on the U.S. national under 17 team last year for 42 games. He had 43 goals, 72 total points. He then got bumped up to the U18 team. Had 26 goals in 20 games. Then he played on the USNTDP juniors in the USHL. He had 28 goals in 32 games. You take that with his performance on the U.S. national U18 team this year, 58 goals in 57 games. Guy is a bona fide goal scorer, to say the least. He's done it at every stop he's had since he started playing with the Boston Junior Bruins back in 2015-2016. He had 5 goals in 6 games. Dude is just an unbelievable goal scorer. He is a scorer first and foremost. But let's look at what Scott Wheeler has to say about Eiserman. A dynamic goal scorer in the truest sense. Eiserman possesses an exhilarating ability to cleanly pick his spots in the net and regularly beat defenders and goalies one-on-one. He can score in every way: long range, mid-range, jam plays, rush plays, quick hands in tight, the one-timer, a lethal catch and release. There isn't a pass he can't take and get off. Last year, he showed one of the better shots and sets of hands that Wheeler had seen in a player that age. This year, he chased down Cole Caulfield's all-time NTDP goal-scoring record. He's one of the younger players in the draft because of his late August birthday as well, which I think sometimes gets lost in evaluations of him because of how scrutinized he's been over the last 2 years. Eiserman is a shot creator and finisher who, against his peers, usually takes whatever he wants and seems to score at will. There have been big games where that has been tougher, causing some to question him, but Wheeler has always seen him come up big. Wheeler also says, I actually think he's a better skater than he has been given credit for in conversations I've had with folks about him. Skating is above average, but it's his puck skill, quick release, shot variety. He can rip it in motion, off catch and releases, standing still and from a one-timer, and he'll make goalies guess wrong in alone because of how fast his hands are, and sneaky strength when he uses it, which he has started to do more of. That have allowed him to create with relative ease against his peers. Though how easy that part of the game has always been to him has also created some bad habits. He can frustrate, though, too, and scouts desperately want to see him round out his game and improve his play selection. He can be a little careless and selfish with the puck. He can get carried away trying to do too much, stick handling into trouble, or shooting into shin pads, forcing shots from bad spots on the ice and trying to be too cute. The play selection and habits definitely need some work, and that have led many to understandably lowering him outside of the top 10 range that Wheeler still has him at. He doesn't miss when he's got an opportunity, though, and it's so hard to find goal scorers like him outside of the very top of the draft. Wheeler's seen him play pretty complete competitive games too, so it is there. Wheeler says, I've also seen him zip passes around and show a playmaking tilts and think he's an underrated passer who actually identifies second and third options quite well, even if he doesn't always give the puck to them. But where he goes will ultimately come down to which team believes the way he produces that he's about to score here, feeling every time the puck comes to him in a good spot supersedes the real work he needs to do in other areas. It's cliche, but you can't teach that. He looks to me with a little coaching like he's capable of becoming a high-scoring winger and a PP1 focal point, but I understand the reservations many have about him and his game. He's a complicated player and kid. Let's take a look at the hockey writers, their profile of Cole Eiserman. JP Gambatis has this to say. Once touted as the undisputed second overall pick to surefire superstar Macklin Celebrini, Cole Eiserman has slipped quite a bit in this year's rankings as a product of his competitors' stocks rising, while his play has remained somewhat stagnant, if not slightly worsening. If there's one thing that has stayed consistent and lethal in Eiserman's game, it's his shot. Now just 10 goals away from the U.S. National Team Development Program's all-time goal record, he continues to prove that he has the most dangerous shot of anyone in this year's draft class. In 45 games this season with the National Team Development Program, he's tallied 48 goals and 73 total points. He's currently 7th all-time in points for the program, thanks to a 69-goal, 104-point 2022-2023 campaign. He can and will shoot from anywhere in the offensive zone with pinpoint accuracy, showcasing his deadly and deceptive release en route to beating the opposing goalie cleanly. He can release the puck in extremely tight spaces, using his supple hands to quickly toe drag release around defenders. He doesn't need to be open to be a goal-scoring threat, though he is also excellent at reading the defense in zone and finding open shooting lanes for himself. In addition to his shot, he's a hard worker on and off the ice, not being afraid to play with a smidge of snarl and grit along the boards in order to win pucks back for himself. On the flip side of his unequivocal goal-scoring aptitude, he's got some room to improve many facets of his game, hence his significant drop off in draft position projection. While he's a decent playmaker, his passing capabilities are nothing to write home about. He struggles at times to find open space when carrying the puck, while not in a shooting lane, and thus is prone to losing it to a defenseman rather than prolonging offensive zone time by finding available teammates. His skating is another pain point in his game. He's sporting neither quick acceleration nor high-end top speed, and it costs him in a rush-style offense and in transition. There's no denying his skill in a cycle offense. He's great at finding space to shoot when he doesn't have possession of the puck and has a quick-fire trigger from tight spaces, which can and should be considered a coveted asset. At the same time, he struggles with straight-line speed and acceleration, don't project particularly well to a rush-style team that's reliant on speedy breakouts and capitalizing on odd-man rushes. His draft projection, his stagnancy in improving his game has left him a near impossibility to predict, though he's undoubtedly going to be a top half selection as a byproduct of his incredible shot. Rankings have him anywhere from 3rd overall to 16th, and there really isn't a particular directional skew of that wide range either. JP would guess that he drops well past the 2nd overall rank he's garnered for years and gets selected in the 8 through 12 range. NHL potential. Let's talk about this. As JP alluded to earlier, it's become increasingly difficult to project Eiserman's translation to the NHL. On one hand, his shot in and of itself is already a top of an NHL lineup quality, and he could very well fix the issues he has with his game in a year or two outside of the NHL. On the other, he didn't really improve those facets of his game at all since first debuting with the NTDP in 2022-2023, and may never reach the point where he has multiple dimensions to his game. JP's bullish on Eiserman, though, and thinks that he will be a top 6 goal-scoring winger for many, many years. He has legitimate 40-plus goal potential if he develops correctly and gets paired with the right playmaking center. Well, I know of an area that he could fit immediately if he's got a can't-miss shot. Just needs somebody that can get him the puck. He'd slot in quite nicely on that second line with maybe upside that he could take some time on the top line too. I will say the things that stand out to me about Eiserman are the shot. I mean, the shot being that highly regarded is a huge area of intrigue. That's hugely intriguing in just looking at some of the things that this Wild team needs. Somebody who is not afraid to shoot it and somebody who is capable of scoring with said shot. That's a hugely appealing piece for me. Obviously, some of the other things such as speed and skating ability, those are worrisome, but hard to pass up that type of a shot. It's pretty clear that he has had success in the goal scoring department. And well, it turns out that's a big need for the Minnesota Wild. So if Cole Eiserman was the pick, he could definitely make an impact down the line with this Minnesota Wild roster. So there's your draft profile on Cole Eiserman. Again, you can find these profiles all clipped separately on our YouTube channel. So make sure to check those out for your reference as we get closer to the NHL draft. When we come back, we will take a look at another potential top pick for the Minnesota Wild, another forward. We're talking Michael Brandsegg-Nygard. That is on the way here on today's episode of Locked On Wild. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Indeed. Folks, there's no I in team, but there is one in Indeed. And Indeed is the hiring platform you need to build yours. When you're hiring, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. With Indeed Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed Data US. And Indeed works great if you are looking for a new job because you can set all of your specific qualifications and get matched up to what companies are looking for in particular. Indeed will even tell you if you are potentially missing qualifications for a particular job or if there are some things that you may need to clarify before you apply for a particular position. Indeed makes things so easy, and you can join more than the more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit right now at Indeed.com/lockedon. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. For tomorrow, we are going to continue with our look at how to improve the Minnesota Wild going into next season. We will take a look at a couple of key spots in the lineup and see the candidates to fill those spots from within. So tune in for that tomorrow. And I do want to say, appreciate everybody's comments on yesterday's episode. Obviously had some news to pass along, and appreciate everybody wishing me well and offering their condolences through what has been kind of a tricky week, but we'll bounce back. We'll be all right. And best part is that I get to keep doing this and keep hanging out with all of you. Who is Michael Brandsegg-Nygard? He is a right shot forward from Norway. He's 6'1", 198 pounds. He is playing with Mora IK. And let's just look at some of his statistics from his years in Norway. This past season, in international play, Brandsegg-Nygard he played for the Mora IK J20 national team. He had 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points in 7 games. He then played for the Mora IK team, 41 games, 8 goals, 10 assists. He played in the World Junior Championships on the U20 team for Norway, had 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 total points with the Norway team. And, you know, you look back to some of his other seasons, back to 2021, 2022. He played in the Norway U18 team, 10 goals, 9 assists in 7 games. He played in the U20 team for 25 games that year, had 24 goals, 18 assists. He played on the J20 national team in 2022-2023. He had 17 goals in 35 games with 21 assists. So he's got some offensive acumen to him. And let's see what Scott Wheeler has to say about Brandsegg-Nygard. Brandsegg-Nygard is one of the most well-rounded and projectable forwards in this class, and the best of a strong wave of Norwegian players now playing around Europe. He's in October 2005 with a pro frame who played to above a point per game at the junior level and scored his first pro goal in Hockey Allsvenskan last season. He lost out on playoff action and a chance to play for the senior men's national team at Worlds after undergoing knee surgery last March. But he was healthy in time for his draft year, and got off to an excellent start, registering 9 points in his first 3 J20 games and quickly establishing himself back with the pro club, building as the season progressed towards a standout postseason that saw him register 10 points in 12 playoff games at Sweden's second-rung pro level. Brandsegg-Nygard's game is built upon his work ethic and drive. He's a multifaceted shooter who can score from the top of the circles with his wrister, but also gets down to one knee and really powers through a good one-touch shot. Skills that have helped him excel on both the flank and the bumper on the power play across domestic and international levels. He is not a dynamic individual play creator, but he's got pro size. He works extremely hard and engages himself in the play. He plays well off his line mates, and he's got good all-around skill. He also plays the game with a physical tilt, even against pros, constantly engaging in battles and keeping his effort level ramped up. He's got a commitment to staying on pucks and finishing his checks, and uses a long stick to protect pucks well out wide to his body. He's got good straight line skating. He looks like a projectable middle six driver to Wheeler, and potentially a solid top sixer as the third guy on a more talented line with the right development. There are some who aren't sure he's quite skilled enough for the front half of the first round, but those numbers dwindled after his playoffs and a 4-goal game with the men's team in a 4-3 win against Denmark in a World Championship tune-up. And you won't find any who don't at least like his game and style. Wheeler thought about ranking him a spot or two higher. He has him currently ranked 14th. And let's look at what the hockey writers have to say. This is Jesse Corville Lynch. Michael Brandsegg-Nygard might not be the most popular prospect heading into the 2024 NHL entry draft, but there is much to like about his game. The main thing that should catch the attention of NHL scouts is how much of a team player he is and how his vision helps him see the ice to create opportunities for his teammates. His offensive game speaks for itself with an impressive stat line of 8 goals, 10 assists for 18 points through 41 games this season. He's on pace to be the highest drafted Norwegian hockey player ever, beating out Marius Houtlet, who was drafted 42nd overall in the 2002 NHL entry draft. Taking a deeper look at his offensive game, while the numbers may not jump off the screen and say that he's a lethal scorer with incredible upside, he has a lot of weapons in his arsenal, and he isn't afraid to try them all. He has an amazing shot that he has the confidence to use, strong puck handling abilities, whether exiting the defensive zone or on the rush into the offensive zone, and knows how to create space for himself to find the best lane for a shot. Brandsegg-Nygard might be one of the most complete players in the upcoming 2024 NHL entry draft. While some players usually have one strength with their offensive game that stands out to many scouts, he has several strengths and doesn't neglect any of them. It also helps that he's viewed as one of the strongest defensive-minded forwards in the upcoming draft, so translating his game from Europe to North America shouldn't be too difficult. Lastly, his skating is smooth for a bigger player. Usually bigger players neglect their skating ability and try to stand out with another trait, but not Brandsegg-Nygard. His ability to get up to speed and beat players in puck races, even with a larger stature, is most impressive. He is someone that a team could take a chance on, and he'll be someone who maintains an NHL career for a long time. His NHL potential. Brandsegg-Nygard is one of the favorite prospects heading into the upcoming draft. He should be able to find himself a home as a second-line forward if he can translate his game from Europe to North America and continue playing a solid two-way game when given the opportunity at the NHL level. Ladies and gentlemen, that sounds like a Minnesota Wild draft selection to me. Focus on a two-way game, some size to him, ability to finish checking, and the ability to set up his teammates. That sounds like a Wild selection. And look, not to say that he, won't be a good player, but it's all those buzzwords that you can just tell are like just perfect for what the Minnesota Wild look for. And it's a situation like this. I would say players like Cole Eiserman, Carter Yakimchuk have like higher potential ceiling. Brandsegg-Nygard probably has a higher floor than those types of guys. He's probably a safer pick, but some of these other guys have more potential to potentially really hit and really turn into something. So he would be an interesting pick for the Minnesota Wild if they go that route. But if it's me, I would much rather see some of those dynamic scorers selected by the Wild this year. But that is Michael Brandsegg-Nygard's draft profile. We'll finish by talking about another 2024 NHL draft prospect as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. One final draft profile for you here for today. It's Tij Iginla. That last name may sound familiar. Left shot forward, currently playing in the WHL, 6 foot, 185 pounds, and just under 18 years old. Let's look at some of his stats from previous stops. We'll start with Rink Hockey Academy, Kelowna U18. 32 games played. He had 26 goals, 22 assists, 48 total points in 32 games. Last year, he played with the Seattle Thunderbirds in the WHL. 48 games, 6 goals, 12 assists, 18 total points, and then finished with the Canada Red U17 team and had 2 goals, 5 assists in 7 games. He played for the Kelowna Rockets in the WHL this past year. 47 goals, 37 assists in 64 games, as well as playing on the U18 team for Canada in the World Junior Championships. He had 6 goals, 6 assists in 7 games there. So got some scoring ability to him. But let's see what Scott Wheeler has to say. After playing his rookie season in a limited role with the WHL champion Seattle Thunderbirds, at times even scratched, Tij, the son of Jarome Iginla and the number 9 pick in the 2021 WHL Bantam Draft, was traded last June to Kelowna and took off with the Rockets in his draft year, regularly looking dangerous both off the rush and attacking inside the offensive zone. He is an excellent skater who can beat you in a straight-out race, cut past you laterally with quick weight shifts, or build speed through tight crossover patterns around the offensive zone. On the puck, he is a threatening individual creator who can create in knifing bursts and works quickly to put defenders on their heels, attacking on angles and jumps. Off of it, he's got great instincts for jumping into gaps in coverage to get open for his line mates. His snapshot, which has a traditional look to it and is more wrists than leverage than the curl and drag you commonly see now, is a major weapon, consistently beating goalies cleanly with both its pop and how quickly it comes off. He's got high-end handling. He's got impressive hands in tight and always seems to handle his first touch at speed, even when pucks are put into his feet. And adjustability, which blends with real creativity to create an often dynamic one-on-one player. He's also a fan favorite type who gets after it on the forecheck and involves himself in the play, often with some sneaky strength. The Wheeler thinks his defensive awareness and consistency still need to come. Add in NHL puck skill and a dangerous and heavy wrister from mid-range, and you've got a fun player and prospect. Add in the emergence of a power game that has seen him really begin to see him take pucks to the inside and drive the net, and suddenly you've got a perimeter and interior offensive threat who has strength, speed, skill, and scoring in his profile. He's got a top 6 scoring skill jump profile. Some NHL scouts may not be as sold on him as many in the public sphere are, and he didn't dominate at U18s like some hoped he would, though he was impactful. But he's got a ton of tools, and they've come along at an exciting rate. He's going to score goals and make plays in the NHL. The hockey writers have this to say about Tij Iginla. Dayton Reimer: when your dad is in the Hockey Hall of Fame, it can be hard to emerge from his shadow. Jarome Iginla was renowned for the intensity and work ethic he brought to every game, leading to the unofficial title as the last of the great power forwards. He was also a talented goal scorer. Despite leaving the team over a decade ago, he still holds the Calgary Flames record for the most career goals and most career points. His number 12 was retired in 2019 and hangs in the Saddle Dome's rafters alongside Lanny McDonald's number 9. That's a big legacy to live up to, but Jerome's 17-year-old son, Tij Iginla, looks like he can do it. First, the points. Tij finished his draft season with 47 goals and 84 points in 64 games, surpassing Jerome's 1994-95 totals by 14 goals and 13 points. While his father blended physicality with a good shot, Iginla has shown much better skill with the puck. He has an incredibly quick release that can pack a lot of power, and he can fire the puck from any angle. On top of a strong shot, Iginla also has very soft hands, and the control he shows with the puck is just a fraction lower than elite puck handlers like Berkeley Catton. He can move the puck so quickly between his stick that opponents are left stumbling, which he uses to create space for either himself or a teammate for a scoring opportunity. When pressured, he's strong on his stick too, stretching the puck away from him almost as far as he can, yet maintaining complete control, using his frame and skating to protect the puck from an attacker. Speaking of his skating, aiding Iginla's puck handling is his agility. He's not the slowest player on ice, and nor is he the fastest, but he's strong on his skates, allowing him to get the most out of his edges. He can change direction in a fraction of a second and still have enough momentum to pull off the same move 2 or 3 more times. When he doesn't have the puck, he is constantly moving, putting himself in good positions to pick up a pass or create a turnover. Watching Iginla cycle through the neutral zone or seeing him pick up a loose puck and pass it to a teammate in one fluid movement hints at the high level of intelligence he has at his disposal. Like so many other top-tier snipers, he is always watching the play develop and can predict where it will go, which allows him to be in the best position for his team on both offense and defense. He's not always as consistent when defending, but given that he's already thinking about the game faster than most of his peers, that's not a big issue at this level. He was fantastic at the Kubota Top Prospects game this season, and although he didn't show up on the scoreboard, he was involved in every play and was named player of the game. Tij will never outgrow the comparisons to Jerome, and scouts are quick to point out that he doesn't have the same strength or physicality as his father. That's just the burden of having such a famous father. But on top of being a hard-nosed player, Jerome was known for his high character, and it's obvious that he instilled a lot of that into his children. Tij is a hard worker, and while he can improve in some of the more physical parts of the game, he's shown that he has what it takes to make a name for himself in the future. Draft projection. Iginla is all but guaranteed to go in the top half of the 2024 NHL draft, but how high is another question. He's been one of the fastest rising prospects, and there's little that he can't do, which has been on full display in the Western Hockey League playoffs. Already he has 6 goals and 22 shots in 4 games, including a hat trick in Game 1. That will likely boost him up slightly, but reports have revealed that the Montreal Canadiens, who will likely pick within the top 10, have met with the 2024 prospect 4 times this season. While the Canadiens have a habit of reaching for players they like, I think it's more likely he still falls right around where his dad went, 11th overall in 1995. His NHL potential. Iginla will slide in easily to a top 6 spot in the future. He already has plenty of pro habits, and he continues to build strength. He'll become a dangerous sniper who will be impossible to knock off the puck. I think his style of the game is similar to Chris Kreider's, as both players are hardworking, goal-scoring wingers who aren't afraid to use physicality, but it's not their preferred method, and they instead rely on high intelligence and superior puck handling to create opportunities. However, even if he doesn't reach that potential, he'll be a surefire NHLer in 2 to 3 seasons. Sign me up for that. High intelligence and good prowess on offense. That is something that I think the Wild definitely could use. And again, somebody that with a good shot and good skating, be a good spot for the Minnesota Wild to go. So there is your Tij Iginla NHL draft profile, and that will do it for today's episode of Locked on Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked on Wild your first listen each and every day, and we appreciate everybody's support and everybody tuning in each and every episode. Make sure you hit the like button if you have not already for tonight. And we will have a new episode for you coming up tomorrow. Again, taking a look at the biggest spots in the lineup that need to be filled and who can fill them internally. So stay on the lookout for that tomorrow. And make sure to subscribe on your favorite audio platforms if you have not already. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.